My name is Judy, and I'm 32 years old. If you met me today, you'd probably see a confident woman with a good career, a new house, and a smile that hides more than it shows. But if you really want to understand me, you need to go back. Back to when I was just a little girl, growing up in a house where love was never equal. I have a younger brother, Daniel. And Daniel was... well, he was the golden child. The one who could do no wrong. When he brought home a C on his report card, my parents said, "At least he tried." When I brought home an A-, my mom frowned and asked, "What happened to the A?" From as early as I can remember, I felt like I had to earn my place in my own family, while my brother's spot was reserved no matter what. It wasn't that Daniel was evil or cruel back then. He was charming, funny, and knew how to make people laugh. But behind that smile, there was laziness, a belief that someone else would always clean up his mess. And more often than not, that someone was me. When we were teenagers, I worked part-time jobs, waitressing, babysitting, even tutoring kids in math, just so I could save for college. Daniel. He spent his afternoons strumming his guitar in the basement, claiming he was finding his sound. He'd get bored, quit, and pick up a new hobby. One month it was painting, the next it was photography. Then suddenly he was a DJ. My parents encouraged every single phase, buying him new equipment, telling me, "You're the responsible one, Judy. You'll figure things out." And I did. I studied hard, earned a scholarship, and eventually built a tech startup from nothing. But every step forward in my life only seemed to drive a wedge deeper between us. Because the more I achieved, the more Daniel resented me. Even in those early days, I could sense it. When I landed my first real job, he rolled his eyes and joked, "Guess we all can't be perfect like Judy." At family dinners, my parents praised me. "Look at your sister, Daniel, she's so focused." And instead of motivating him, it made him bitter. But you know what the twisted part is? I still loved him. He was my brother. And despite his envy, despite his irresponsibility, I wanted to believe he'd grow out of it. I wanted to be the sister who lifted him up, not the one who turned her back. I didn't know then how badly that choice, always trying to support him, always giving when I should have said no, would come back to destroy me. And it all came to a head on my 32nd birthday. By my mid-20s, I was finally starting to see the payoff of all those sleepless nights and long hours. My startup had launched, and though it wasn't easy, the company was gaining traction. I was working 12, sometimes 14 hours a day, chasing investors, building a team, living off coffee and sheer determination. Meanwhile, Daniel was still figuring things out. He tried enrolling in community college but dropped out after one semester. He said the classes didn't inspire him. Instead, he decided music was his true calling. He talked about building a career as a songwriter, maybe even a producer. I wanted to believe him. Truly, I did. He'd sit in our parents' basement with his guitar, recording rough tracks on his laptop, and he swore he was only one big break away. But the truth, half the time he wasn't writing music. He was out partying, posting pictures with friends, acting like he was already a star. And yet, every time he called me, it was the same plea. "Judy, I just need a little help. Just enough to cover rent until my music takes off." Or, "I'm about to close a deal with a label, but I need new equipment. Could you spot me some cash?" First, I told myself it was just a phase. I sent him money, a few hundred here, 1,000 there. It added up faster than I realized. Before long, I'd given him more than $15,000. Money I could have invested back into my business or saved for myself. But I kept telling myself, he's my brother. If I don't believe in him, who will? The problem was, he never paid me back. Not once. Every promise he made. "I'll send it to you next month. I'll give it back after my gig," dissolved into thin air. My parents told me to be patient. My mom would say, "Daniel just needs a little more time. Not everyone matures at the same pace." And maybe I could have kept swallowing that excuse. if not for the little digs he kept throwing at me. Whenever we were at family dinners, he'd smirk and say things like, "Well, Judy's the rich one, she can afford it," or, "Must be nice to have life handed to you." Handed to me. I worked for every inch of ground I gained. While he was sleeping till noon and nursing hangovers, I was chasing contracts and pulling all-nighters. But somehow in his eyes I was lucky, and he was the misunderstood genius the world just didn't recognize yet. The truth was painful. The more I helped him, the less he respected me. He didn't see my support as love. He saw it as weakness, proof that no matter how badly he behaved, I'd always be there to pick up the pieces. And by the time my 32nd birthday rolled around, that toxic pattern had pushed both of us to the edge. I didn't know it yet, but all those years of resentment, jealousy, and entitlement were about to explode in the worst way possible. By the time I hit 32, something inside me started to shift. Maybe it was age, maybe it was exhaustion, but I was finally tired of being the family safety net. I'd given my brother more than most sisters ever would. Time, money, emotional support. And in return, all I got was resentment. So, when Daniel called me one afternoon asking for another loan, I took a deep breath and said the word I almost never said to him. "No." Silence. Then his laugh, sharp and mocking. "Really, Judy? After everything? You've got more money than you know what to do with. And you can't even help your own brother." I told him the truth. I was done. My business was growing, but it wasn't like I was swimming in endless cash. Every dollar counted, and I couldn't keep pouring money into a black hole. He didn't take it well. He snapped back, calling me selfish, accusing me of forgetting where I came from, even claiming I owed him because I wouldn't be where I was without the family. That one stung because while I loved my parents, I knew deep down that my success had come from me, not from anyone else. From that moment on, his attitude toward me soured even more. Family gatherings became unbearable. He'd roll his eyes when I spoke, make passive-aggressive jokes like, "Well, Judy's the boss, so we better listen to her," or mutter under his breath about me being Miss Perfect. My parents, of course, brushed it off. "He's just frustrated, Judy. Don't take it personally." But I couldn't ignore it anymore. I saw the bitterness in his eyes, the way his smile turned tight whenever someone mentioned my success. It wasn't just sibling rivalry anymore. It was something darker. Still, I never imagined how far he'd take it. Because then came my birthday. My husband and I had just moved into our new home in Austin, a milestone I was so proud of. We wanted to celebrate not just my birthday, but everything we'd built together. We decorated the backyard with string lights, set up music, catered food, invited friends and family. It was supposed to be a night of joy, laughter, and gratitude. But when Daniel showed up, I could feel the storm brewing the moment he walked through the door. He was late, of course. He didn't smile, didn't hug me, didn't even wish me a happy birthday. He just grabbed a drink and leaned against the fence, watching me, watching the house, watching the people who came to celebrate me. And deep down I knew something was about to snap. The night of my birthday started beautifully. My husband and I had worked so hard to put everything together. Our new house was glowing with warm lights strung across the backyard. Music drifted through the air, and tables were covered with catered food and colorful drinks. Friends laughed, relatives mingled, and for the first time in a long while I felt proud. Proud of what I had built, proud of where I was in life. Then Daniel walked in. He was late, of course. No smile, no gift, not even a happy birthday. He didn't hug me, didn't greet anyone properly. He just grabbed a drink, leaned against the fence, and started watching. His eyes weren't full of love or even sibling indifference. They were sharp, dark, filled with bitterness. I tried to brush it off. I laughed with my friends, greeted my coworkers, and smiled when my husband clinked his glass to quiet the crowd. He had a surprise for me. From behind his back, he pulled out a gift, a stunning glass sculpture, handcrafted just for me. It shimmered under the lights, reflecting tiny sparks of color. My eyes watered instantly. This wasn't just art. It was a symbol of everything we'd been through together, a token of my hard work and our shared journey. Everyone clapped. Cameras flashed. I raised my glass to thank my husband, my guests, my family. And then it happened. Daniel shoved his way forward, face twisted with rage. Before I could even process what was happening, he hurled his drink to the ground and grabbed the glass sculpture from my hands. In one sharp motion, he smashed it against the patio stones. The shatter rang through the night like a gunshot. Gasps filled the air. My friends froze wide-eyed. My co-workers looked away, embarrassed. My husband reached for me, stunned. And Daniel, my own brother, stood there, chest heaving, shouting at me in front of everyone. "This is the price you pay for acting superior." His voice cracked like thunder. He accused me of being selfish, of thinking I was better than everyone else, of abandoning him when he needed me the most. His words spilled out like venom. Every ounce of resentment he had carried over the years now aimed directly at me. And all of it under the spotlight of 50 horrified guests. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. But I didn't. I stood there, glass shards glittering at my feet, my heart pounding so loud I could barely hear. I forced myself to smile, to nod politely as my dad rushed over to hold Daniel, comforting him as though he were the victim. My mom looked worried, but not for me, for him. No one asked if I was okay. And in that moment, standing in front of everyone, humiliated on what was supposed to be the happiest night of my year, I made a silent promise. This would be the last time Daniel ever embarrassed me. Because by morning, his career, his excuses, his endless cycle of taking without giving, would be over. That night, after everyone left and the backyard was quiet, I sat alone at the kitchen table. The shards of glass from my birthday gift still sparkled faintly under the porch light, like a cruel reminder of what Daniel had done. My husband tried to comfort me, but I couldn't stop replaying it in my mind. The humiliation, the silence of my guests, my parents rushing to Daniel's side as if I didn't matter. But while they were comforting him, I was planning. See, what Daniel never understood was that every bridge he burned with me had consequences. For years, I had funneled money into his bank account. Rent, food, equipment. All of it keeping him afloat while he pretended to chase his dreams. That night, I logged into my accounts and shut it down. Every dollar I had set aside for him was gone. No more transfers. No more safety net. And it didn't stop there. Daniel had bragged to me about a big opportunity with a record label. What he didn't realize was that I was the one who vouched for him in the first place. I had put my credibility on the line to convince them he was serious, that he had potential. So, I sent one final email, polite, professional, but clear. Daniel wasn't ready. He didn't have the discipline. He wasn't worth their time. By morning, the contract was gone. His texts started flooding in. "Fix this, Judy. You can't do this to me. You're ruining my life." I didn't reply. When my parents called, their voices dripping with guilt trips, I stayed silent. For the first time in my life, I refused to clean up his mess. Daniel panicked. He turned to the internet, ranting on TikTok about how his selfish sister crushed his career. He begged strangers for sympathy, even launched a crowdfunding campaign. But it fizzled. People saw through the act. The record labels passed him by. The opportunities dried up. And now, Daniel's not a musician, not a producer, not the star he thought he'd be. He's bussing tables at a coffee shop in Austin, still blaming the world and me for everything he lost. As for me, I walked away. I cut ties with him and painfully with my parents too. Because in that moment at my birthday, when they rushed to protect him while I stood bleeding inside, I realized something. Family doesn't always mean loyalty. My revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't violent. It was quiet, calculated, and final. I simply stopped giving. And without me, his empire of excuses collapsed overnight. And for the first time in my life, I chose myself. So I'll ask you this. If your own brother humiliated you in front of everyone, demanded your money, and blamed you for his failures, would you have done the same?